So we're only about a week away from season opener,
Hard to believe.
and yeah, see, I think for you it's hard to believe in the wow, I can't believe it's taken this long, or is it hard to believe that it's upon us already? Where are you at with that?
You know what? I don't think it's not so much a time thing for me, but last year was so involved, and expectations about the Bruins as a team and a franchise changed so dramatically because of last year's surreal season that it just sort of like, oh, here we go again.
Right.
Now that's all become last year, and it was a big mouthful to suddenly become last year, and now it's last year.
Yeah. It's this year now.
It's this year.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in, Mick.
Yep. I hope to do it again sometime, guys. And I appreciate it.
Tim, what's your take on the Bruins? I mean, what?
Well, we had some pretty big Bruins news this past week.
Yep.
With that trade, that Mick predicted that it wasn't going to take long, and I think it was the day we posted last week's show up that the trade happened.
And Mick, so where does that with Kessel now kind of a headache that's in the someone else's headache now? Not that he's that.
Brian Burke's headache.
He's Brian Burke's headache now. I believe that you've said that you feel like the Bruins are a better team for it.
I think the Bruins are not so much a better team for it, but I think they're a better team right now than they were last year.
Okay.
And the reason isn't so much they got rid of the problem.
Right.
It's not about subtraction. It's about all the changes put together. If you take Kessel off of this team, yeah, there's some spectacular talent, breakaway speed, a laser release that's not going to be on the ice. And because the Bruins are of the whole Harry Sinden GM era that starts in 1972, right after the last Stanley Cup, and they haven't won it since. And it always seemed because they lacked a Phil Kessel kind of talent. They could score with the Montreal Canadiens or the Edmonton Oilers, whichever era you're talking about, or the Islanders. It was always just one more stick, one more spectacular guy who could put a goal in when you really needed it. That's the kind of talent. I think that's why a lot of Bruins fans really, really had a hard time with this.
Mm-hmm.
I think what they need to see here is that we're not so sure Kessel's going to become a perennial 50-goal guy in the NHL like Danny Heatley, or he might wind up more like Maxim Afinogenov, or even Joey Juneau, who was sent packing by Harry Sinden over a similar scenario. He traded him in 1994. So you got young players with special ability from time to time. Who's to say what Kessel's career is going to ultimately be and what kind of player he's going to be? Does it make the Bruins right or wrong? I think right now, given what happened, given how it went down, and they tried to trade him. Obviously, they didn't feel as strongly about this player as they would like us to believe they did. Saying Kessel didn't want to be here, I wouldn't want to be here either if they tried to trade me.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're wrong. I think I land on the side of move on. I don't think he was one of their core guys that they should be paying frontline player, complete player money to. My attitude is that the young players like Milan Lucic, Blake Wheeler, David Krejci, in form from the get-go, Patrice Bergeron. I think as this team continues to grow, Kessel will not be as missed. Marco Sturm comes back from his knee injury last year. I just think that they can be a better team this year, especially with the changes on defense.
Well, I mean, obviously they haven't won a championship as the other teams in town have done recently, but has Chiarelli kind of gotten that kind of like in Peter we trust type mode, where because he's been able to build this team back into something that we can look at a trade like this and say, all right, well, we're willing to take a look and see where this is going, because he's made them a better product on the ice and something that people can get excited for, that maybe they know what they're doing.
I think that the less you pay attention to the Bruins, the more you'd lean that way.
Okay.
I think the more intense Bruins fans know that he traded Chris Versteeg to the Blackhawks for Brandon Bochenski because he thought he could get instant offense. He got instant nothing, and Versteeg was a Rookie of the Year candidate with the Blackhawks. So he traded away a prospect and a pick for Manny Fernandez. His first season with the Bruins was wiped out by a knee injury that he had before the Bruins got him. So there have been gaffes. There have been problems. But I think the key thing with Chiarelli is he's surrounded himself with a brain trust. He's built it as he's been on the job. Cam Neely is now one of his sounding boards. Don Sweeney, Jim Benning. These are really, really brainy hockey people who I think have a good combination of the pulse of Boston, Bruins history, and are up at in step with the league. And I think that
Yeah.
because of that, Chiarelli's gotten better as he's gone here, and therefore I think that he's striking the right kind of balance in what he's looking for the team. And I think right now he did about as good as he could, considering, with up against the salary cap, taking 2 first-round picks. He now has 4 first-round picks over the next 2 summers. Obviously, he's in a great position. If the Bruins come to the trade deadline in March and say,
They can make a move.
They can make a move that they might be able to put them over the top. If they're in that kind of position, they can do that with a pick. If not, they can sit on it and make picks and
Right.
fortify the future. I think they're in great. I like the trade a lot.
So it seems like they've maybe. I think what Tim. Well, I know what Tim is saying. I don't think they have that, and he's not reached that level that Epstein or the Patriots have.
Yeah.
But I think they've also. The Bruins clearly have learned from the other franchises in town about how a front office should run, the type of things you need to do in the community. They seems like they're. Don't you think so?
The community, the Bruins invented being a good team in the community.
I'm not talking about like reaching out to. I'm not talking about like, hey, we're helping kids and we're bringing. I'm talking about.
I mean, not being PR mistakes waiting to happen.
Not being. Yes,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
kind of what I mean. More like the community of fans.
Yeah, that's more of an ownership issue, and I'd say that Jacobs has gone. Jeremy Jacobs has gone a long way
popular figure.
toward
figure.
rebuilding his image as a good sports owner in this town.
Well, you know what? It seems like I don't know. I don't know much about. I don't know much about much, Mick, but I do know that when you're down,
You love me.
I do know that when you're down, the fans think you're worse than you are, and when you're up, they think you're better than you are. And I think
That's how you get that right.
and I think the Bruins are kind of. I think Chiarelli really walked into a great situation where he took over the team that really couldn't have been too much lower. They were just terrible and had lost the faith of many Bruins.
And they were way better, and they were personnel-wise for hockey. They were way better
Right.
than people thought. So he not only did he have a PR nightmare to walk into where he could only go up,
Right.
but he actually wasn't in that bad a shape to go up.
Right.
A lot of these players are from the prior regime.
Right. So it's yeah, I think Chiarelli, he still has some stuff to prove, and you know how it is in the NHL. They'll fire a guy with 6 games left in the season that's going to win Coach of the Year. I mean, if they think it's going to take him to the playoffs. So we'll see what's going to happen with that. I'm interested to see how it all shakes out, Mick. But